They keep telling you love's the answer. That if you just open your heart, give without limits, stay gentle, the world will somehow shield you, honor you, give back in kind. But Machiavelli didn't buy that idea of love being some sacred gift. To him, love was more like a risk. An unlocked door. A soft spot just waiting for someone to take advantage of. If a man relies on love to survive, that same love will be the thing that destroys him. But a man who commands fear? He endures. Not because love is evil, it's not, but because love is blind. And this world? It sees everything. Once love enters the picture, strategy tends to walk out. You love your family, your friends, your partner, so naturally you let them in. You spill everything. You're quick to forgive. You find ways to excuse their actions, even when those actions cut deep. And why? Because love makes you drop your guard. You stop measuring the cost. You stop defending your position. You tell yourself, I'd never hurt them, so they'd never hurt me. But Machiavelli would have chuckled at that thought. He knew the brutal truth: even the people closest to you can and will betray you, if it benefits them. Especially once they're sure you won't strike back. The real danger doesn't come from enemies. It's born in the comfort of familiarity. Enemies respect your silence. But the people you love? They get used to your softness. To how easily they can reach you. To your willingness to comply. Little by little, they start to expect your loyalty, without earning it. They want forgiveness on demand. And when you finally draw a line, they act like you've turned on them. Because love, when left wide open, turns you into something useful. Not always on purpose, but almost always eventually. See, Machiavelli wasn't against love. He just believed it had to be managed. Controlled. You don't love without limit. You love with boundaries. With a price. With thought behind it. Because without some control, love becomes vulnerability. And vulnerability? That's the one position a powerful man can't afford to be in. Let's clear something up. Being cold-blooded doesn't mean being heartless. It means being alert. Alert to the way people change when they get too close. Aware of what you're trading when you become emotionally transparent. Wise to what love can mutate into when it's never challenged. Entitlement. Machiavelli grasped something most folks miss. Even the people who love you unconditionally, they can still hurt you by accident. And the ones who hang around just because of what you provide? They'll hurt you on purpose. So the fix isn't to shut down love. It's to stop letting love take the lead. The moment you lead with emotion, you lose your grip. Ever wonder why your family brushes off your advice? Why your friends stop checking in once they've gotten what they wanted? Why your partner doesn't worry about losing you? It's because they know your heart always overrules your head. They see it. They count on you to apologize first. To return. To explain yourself. To stand up for how you feel, but never enforce any consequence. That's how you become predictable. Soft. Harmless. And Machiavelli had a word of warning: better to be feared than loved. If you can't be both. But with the ones closest to you, fear feels unnatural. So you stop playing your hand, and they start playing you. That's the price of staying warm. You'll end up lowering your standards. Accepting behavior from them that you'd shut down immediately in a stranger. Forgiving without change. Staying silent, just to keep the peace. But the peace you're holding on to? It's really just everyone else feeling safe around your weakness. And once people feel safe around your weakness, they'll test it. Then they'll push it. Then they'll use it. You don't need to stop loving. You just need to love with sharper edges, boundaries that bite if crossed. Let your warmth be visible, but never unguarded. Because once your love turns unconditional, so does your pain. Strangers don't break you. It's always the ones you open the door to. And Machiavelli understood that better than most. He wasn't paranoid, he was accurate. He saw that the people who know your triggers, your soft spots, your limits, those are the ones most likely to hit them. Not out of hate, but because they've stopped fearing you. And when fear disappears from a relationship, so does respect. Test number 1? Entitlement. They stop saying thank you. Stop asking. Stop thinking about how much you're giving. Why? Because in their mind, you already belong to them. You're a given. You'll always help. You'll always show up. You'll always say yes. And the second you don't, suddenly you're the bad guy. You've changed. You're distant. You're cold. But Machiavelli would tell you, let them talk. That's just the sound of someone losing their upper hand. Test 2, guilt mirroring. You draw a line. They break down emotionally. You say no. They remind you of what you did in the past. You protect your time. They call you cold or withdrawn. At that point, it's no longer a conversation. It's a tactic. Because they've figured it out. If they can make you feel guilty, they can steer you wherever they want. And if you waver, they remember. And they'll use it again. That's not love. That's a manipulation. And if you can't stand your ground when guilt shows up, you never had one in the first place. Test 3? The loyalty trap. You've shown up. Been solid. Reliable. But if you're the only one doing that, it turns into an expectation. They stop checking in. They stop giving back. They start appearing only when they need something. And when you finally pull away, they panic. Not because they miss you, but because their emotional safety net just vanished. Machiavelli would say, predictable loyalty doesn't get appreciated, it gets exploited. Test 4. The just this once trick. This one's subtle. It begins small. Can you cover this for me? Can you cancel that? Can you let this slide? Just this once. But the second you say yes, it's never just once. Now you're the one who can bend, and they know you won't break. They learn you'll go against your values. As long as they stay close enough. That's not love. That's strategic pressure. Test 5. The you're too harsh angle. You speak plainly. Now you're called cold. You step back? Suddenly you've got no heart. I stopped being endlessly patient, and suddenly, that made me heartless. Funny how they twist your strength into some kind of flaw. But here's the truth, they don't actually miss the warmth. What they really miss is the access. Access to that version of me who let them slide by without any consequences. That guy's gone now. They'll call it cruel. But it's not. It's just clarity, finally seeing things for what they are. And Machiavelli? He would have expected all of it. He'd say, the closer someone stands to you, the more they believe it's your job to carry the weight of their chaos. And if you refuse, they'll label you cold. They'll say you've changed. That you're not who you used to be. They'll paint your growth as betrayal. Let them. Because a man who's afraid to upset the people he loves, ends up surrounded by people who love how easy it is to upset him. So here's the fix. Stop trying to prove you're good. You don't need to explain why you've hardened. You don't need to defend your distance. And you definitely don't owe anyone an apology for outgrowing emotional games they depended on. You just enforce your standards, quietly, consistently, and without hesitation. Let them talk. Let them feel whatever discomfort they want. Because once they realize the old version of you isn't coming back, they've only got two choices: rise to meet you, or fall away. Either one puts you in a stronger place. Being cold-blooded doesn't mean your heart's frozen. It means you protect your strength with sharp edges, especially from those who assumed you'd never use it. Because if you don't defend your emotional core, you'll end up becoming the dumping ground for everyone else's storms. See, Machiavelli didn't build walls to shut people out. He built filters. Tests. So only the worthy made it through. And even then, entry wasn't forever. If they wanted to stay, they had to re-earn it. You want to build that same kind of power? That same level of control? Here's where you start. Rule 1. Stop explaining your emotional distance. You don't owe anyone a reason for needing space. For going quiet. For stepping back from patterns that keep burning you. The more you explain yourself, the more leverage you hand over. Machiavelli would have said, explaining invites debate. But acting without asking? That's a sign of power. So when someone hits you with, "What's going on? Why are you acting different? Why didn't you reach out?" you don't launch into some long story. You just say, "I've recalibrated." And then you let the silence hang. That silence? That refusal to emotionally bleed for them? It earns respect. Or it exposes who never had any. Rule 2. Set consequences, not conditions. Most people make rules that sound like begging. "Don't speak to me like that again. If you do this, I'll be upset. Please respect me." Machiavelli didn't beg. He built systems that made disrespect expensive. You don't say, "Don't do that." You show them, "When you do that, I'm gone." And when they panic, you don't come back just because they're scared. You come back if and when you choose. That's what gives boundaries real weight. They don't ask. They act. Rule 3. Never negotiate through emotion. The moment someone figures out that tears move you, silence panics you, or ghosting makes you chase, your mind is no longer your strongest weapon. Now they play your heart. Machiavelli would never allow that. Because once someone pierces your emotional clarity, they're no longer aiming at your logic, they're hitting your wounds. You protect yourself by staying unreadable in the heat of pressure. No long explanations. No, "I just feel like" texts. No late-night apologies for enforcing your line. Your silence? That becomes your strength. Your calm? That's your message. And if they want the soft side of you, they'll have to earn it all over again. Rule 4. Decide what you will and won't tolerate, and never flinch. Most folks shift their boundaries depending on who's asking, how long they've known the person, or how emotionally worn out they feel. That's weakness. That's inflation of your emotional currency, and it devalues your worth. You need clear, non-negotiable lines. Like, "I don't respond to yelling." Or, "When I create space, it stays until I decide otherwise." Or, "I don't reward apologies unless they're followed by actual change." And then, you stick to it. No exceptions. Because people don't test what's solid. They test what's soft. Machiavelli didn't punish often. But when he did, it was precise. Cold. Permanent. You have to be the same, or they'll keep gambling, hoping your forgiveness is unlimited. Rule 5. Stop fearing the label. Harsh. This is where most people break. They know they're being used. They feel their peace slipping. But the second they draw the line, the guilt creeps in. Because the world teaches us that if you're not endlessly patient, you're mean. If you don't explain every move, you're arrogant. If you don't welcome people back in, you're holding a grudge. But Machiavelli didn't worry about being called cold. He worried about being called easy. And so should you. Let them twist your name. Let them spin the story to match their pain. Because the second you start fearing your reputation more than the reality, you hand over your power for an illusion. And illusions change nothing. You're not cold. You're clear. You're done negotiating your standards. Love without boundaries turns into sacrifice. And sacrifice, when no one sees it, becomes slavery. Machiavelli wouldn't die fighting someone else's emotional war. He'd watch. He'd retreat. And he'd only return when respect was on the table. That's not cruelty. That's control. This is where most people hesitate. They say, "But I don't want to go numb. I don't want to lose myself. What if I get cold and can't come back?" And yeah, that fear's real. But it's based on a misunderstanding. People confuse strategy with disconnection. Being cold-blooded doesn't mean you don't care. Machiavelli didn't kill off his humanity. He just learned exactly when and how to use it. Because in his world, and in mine, feeling everything is a guarantee that you'll be controlled by everything. Cold-blooded thinking isn't about cruelty. It's about clarity. It's about composure. You don't stop feeling. You just stop reacting emotionally when the moment calls for calculation. You can still care. Still love. Still connect. You just do it with your eyes open, and your soul guarded. I reflect. But only within the walls I've built, the kind that keep me from becoming just another pawn in someone else's emotional chess game. Being cold-blooded doesn't mean I don't have warmth. It just means I choose when to turn it on, and more importantly, who gets to feel it. That's not emotional absence. That's emotional intelligence. Real control starts inside, with how you frame what you feel. When someone disrespects me, I don't react anymore. I assess. When they lie, I don't spiral, I just note it. When they disappear, I don't chase. I interpret. That internal shift? It changes everything. Instead of thinking, why would they do this to me? I ask, what did this moment just teach me about them? Machiavelli would face betrayal and ask, what can I extract from this to gain ground? Because to someone thinking cold and clear, pain isn't a tragedy, it's positioning. I've learned to master the art of slow reactions. You know what really unsettles people? It's not anger. Not yelling. Not even revenge. It's the calm one. The one who gets betrayed and says nothing. No explosions. Just silence. They step back. They close the door. They cut off access. Not with rage, with indifference. Because reacting fast doesn't make you strong. It makes you predictable. Machiavelli never rushed. He didn't move from emotion, he moved from advantage. He knew that power isn't about having the loudest feelings, it's about having the sharpest timing. So I built what I call a strategic pain mindset. Whenever I feel hurt, disrespected, or replaced, I've got two choices. Take it personally. Or use it. The cold-blooded mind doesn't grieve over losses. It takes inventory. It identifies who's willing to lose me, and it updates access accordingly. It turns pain into awareness. Distance into leverage. Loss into growth. Because when you're reactive, you hand the other person the keys to your emotional reality. But when you absorb it quietly, you become the one no one dares cross twice. You don't have to lose your heart, you just need to guard it with structure. Most people love like it's war but show up without armor. They say things like, I'll give them everything. I'll love them through their worst. They'll come back when they realize. But Machiavelli? He knew that hope is not a strategy. And kindness without limits is self-destruction in disguise. So no, I don't shut my heart. I build a gate. And behind that gate is a rule. Only those who prove they're consistent get access to my softness. Because my warmth isn't a given, it's earned. My care isn't unconditional, not because I'm cruel, but because I know what I'm worth. And here's the final shift, maybe the hardest one. I've learned to be okay with being misunderstood. That's where most people freeze. They want to set boundaries but still be liked. They want to be strong, but still seem sweet. But Machiavelli would say, if you need people's approval to evolve, you've already given up the freedom to grow. So yeah, they'll call me cold. They'll say I've changed. That I've pulled away. Let them. Because their discomfort isn't my burden to carry. It's the withdrawal symptoms of losing access to the version of me who was easy to hurt. Cold-blooded doesn't mean I'm heartless. Detached doesn't mean I don't care. Strong doesn't mean I'm selfish. But that's what they'll say. The second you stop over-giving, over-explaining, over-forgiving, you become too much. Too sharp. Too hard to reach. And that's where most people fall apart. They either stay soft and get used, or go numb and lose themselves. But Machiavelli? He walked the middle path. What I call strategic empathy. Let's break it down, how to stay powerful without becoming the villain they want to paint you as. Step 1. Define your intention, not their perception. Ask yourself, am I setting boundaries to hurt them or to protect myself? Am I pulling back because I'm cold, or because I'm exhausted? Am I silent because I'm passive-aggressive, or because I've said everything I need to say? If the answer is self-protection, not revenge, you're on the right path. Machiavelli didn't chase nobility. He chased stability. And those who maintain power without cruelty? They're rare. That's your job now. Step 2. Show mercy without forgetting the reason you stepped away. There's nothing wrong with giving someone another shot. Being kind. Offering help. But don't forget why you pulled back in the first place. Don't erase the lesson. Don't return without conditions. You can give softness, but never at the cost of your standards. Step 3. Control your presence, not just your distance. And now? This isn't just a mindset. It's a lifestyle. Machiavelli didn't talk about power. He embodied it. And if I want to live cold-blooded in a world that constantly pressures me to be emotionally submissive, then I need more than theory. I need rituals. I need rules. Repetition. This is how boundaries become part of your identity, not something you have to keep explaining. Habit 1. Move without announcements. I don't say, "I'm cutting you off." I don't post, "I'm protecting my peace." I just move. I slow my replies. I stop repeating myself. I vanish when I'm done. Because real boundaries don't need speeches. They live in action, not captions. Machiavelli didn't wait for people to agree with his silence. He just made sure they felt it. Habit 2. Stay polite, never overfamiliar. My kindness isn't automatic. It's not free. It's earned and it's kept up. I greet calmly. Compliment deliberately. Exit with dignity. Because the overly emotional man is easy to use. But the disciplined one? He's impossible to manipulate. My cold-blooded nature doesn't come from being mean. It comes from having a system. Habit 3. Reflect before reacting. When someone lets me down, I don't lash out. I process. When they cross a line, I don't yell. I make a mental note. Cold-blooded doesn't mean I feel nothing. It means my thoughts lead, not my emotions. That pause? That filter? That's my edge now. And when others spiral, shout, sulk, my stillness hits harder than any reaction could. Habit 4. Never reopen what you closed without a damn good reason. You walked away for a reason. Don't return unless there's evidence that reason no longer exists. Most people go back because someone apologized. Because enough time passed. Because they missed them. No. Time doesn't fix betrayal. Standards do. And if they haven't grown, you haven't missed anything. Habit 5. Treat your peace like a private strategy, not public content. I'm not calm so people admire me. I'm calm so people can't access me without effort. I don't need applause for my growth. I need alignment with my values. So I live quietly. I protect deeply. And I let the outcomes of my discipline speak louder than any post or quote ever could. That's the finish line. That's the Machiavellian state of mind. Total power. No explanation.